think even the card manufacturers are starting to realize that people demand to really know with 100% certainty that it was game used and when it was game used. The industry demands photo matching.
That makes a lot of sense. People kind of have their doubts. Let's just say that. And certain bad players have unfortunately made it that way. But at the same time, they say, proof is good to have.
Welcome to the Trading Cards and Collectibles podcast on the Radcast Network. From chasing grails to calling bluffs and going inside the hobby. Are you ready to collect? Let's get at it. Here is your host, Ryan Alford.
Hello and welcome to Trading Cards and Collectibles here on the Radcast Network. I want to thank you for making us a top 5 sports show on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you for listening. If you're watching, listen. If you listen, watch. Check us out on YouTube. We got all our highlight clips, the full episode. And hey, a lot of what we're talking about today is visual. You know, when it comes back to it, we're talking to the founder of Resolution Photomatching. What's up, John? The only thing that keeps me sleepless is when I buy memorabilia and I don't know if it's the legit stuff.
So yeah, at Resolution Photomatching, we're authenticating game-used memorabilia, and we've been doing it since 2016 when we started. At the time that Resolution launched and was founded, photo matching was not the standard for authenticating game-used memorabilia. Grading was a lot more popular at that time, but it really, frankly, was not as accurate as photo matching. But at the time, there wasn't a dedicated professional photo matching service. That's all they did was photo match memorabilia. And so when we came out, I'm really proud of the fact that I think we led to a shift in how game-used memorabilia was authenticated. We quickly became the top authenticator for game-used memorabilia with a lot of the auction houses, the top individual collectors. Within probably 2 or 3 years of our founding, photo matching and resolution photo matching had kind of become the industry standard. And I think it's still there today. Now there's some different factors in the market and things like that, but I'm still really proud of the fact that I think resolution photo matching is still the standard for authentication when it comes specifically to game used.
Talk to me. It's interesting. I've got some memorabilia, a lot of trading cards, and in trading cards, they cut up the memorabilia into a million pieces. You guys get involved with any of that stuff?
It's funny you mentioned that. We've actually even been contacted by a couple of card manufacturers about doing photo matching for a jersey before it goes into the cards. Is eventually when they're going to cut up and put into cards. And so it's not something that they've jumped into a whole lot yet, but I think even the card manufacturers are starting to realize that, people demand to really know with 100% certainty that it was game used and when it was game used. The industry demands photo matching. And so I think even we're starting to see card manufacturers start to get that and start to reach out to us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And they're right, because people kind of have their doubts, right? Let's just say that. And, not certain bad players have unfortunately made it that way. But at the same time, they say, proof is good to have. And especially when you have something of value and increasing that value. Walk me through, generally speaking, with resolution photo matching. Do I buy this, or do I go with a source like this before I'm buying something of value expensive? Or if I've got a collection on the wall and I'm like, I want to increase its value and increase my confidence level. Is it both or one or the other?
It's really all of the above. So we'll have clients coming to us right before they're going to sell. We'll have clients coming to us right before they're going to buy. It really depends. We can even at times work on items that are currently at auction if we get enough turnaround time before the auction's over. It's all different degrees. Maybe if you're working on it before, right before you're going to buy something that doesn't currently have a resolution photo match, maybe you can get a little better price on it when you buy it, and then you can add some value after the purchase. You definitely want to have it if you're about to sell. You want to have resolution on there because it's going to add a lot more value to the piece if we're able to make a res match. But I always encourage people to do it early. Try and get the res match early, because then it's not just the added value financially when you sell it, but you get to enjoy it too, because it's kind of fun. It's something you really can. It's a visual medium where it can really, even if you're displaying, your jerseys or your bats or your shoes, you can put the res match photo with the item on display. We'll put them in frames and stuff like that. And not only is it authentication, but it's also kind of a addition to the collectible, on the wall.
Where are you seeing the most growth? Like, is it people like before they buy something? Okay, hey John, we call the team. They want to get it validated, or is it like you said early on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all the above. As far as growth within the markets, our bread and butter has always been baseball, basketball, football. Those have always been the three biggest. Probably the biggest growth sport we've seen in the last 2-3 years is actually soccer. There's a lot more soccer collectors coming out. Still probably not to the level of those big three, but we've seen a lot of increases there. Hockey as well, various other sports. And then we can actually also authenticate non-sports items. So we'll do photo matching for stuff that's used in concerts, whether it be a guitar, used by, we had one of the Rolling Stones guitars we were able to res match. We've done shirts from like major musicians, and then also screen worn. So stuff that's used in TV shows, stuff that's used in movies.
I mean, not to give away trade secrets or anything, but like I'm still fascinated at this process. Like exactly what is happening here.
We have a 3-round research process for every item we're researching. The first round is going through analyzing every potential image and then flagging the ones that are promising. And then in the second round of our research, we have kind of the checks on those promising images to see, hey, is this the potential to be a res match? The other really important part in our second round is what we call our comparison analysis process. And this is really what keeps our standards at the level they are, which is one of the things that I think really sets resolution apart, is that level of standard we take before we'll call something a res match, before we call it a photo match. And then our third round of research is we have a senior most researcher, and they're doing final checks and making the final determinations. But once we get to that third round, they're doing the final checks and balances. They're making the final determinations. This image, this date is a res match based on these different characteristics. That date, maybe isn't a res match. Maybe it's a possible or probable match, but it doesn't make that level of res match. And then we get into making the graphics, making our certification, and sending all those out to the client. It's time intensive for sure to do it right. I always say photo matching isn't that hard to do potentially, but to do it at the professional level and do it at the level that we're doing it, that's where it gets difficult.
What percent doesn't get validated? And if it doesn't, I mean, I guess you're paying the research cost because the research took place whether you got it or not. How does that work as far as, what you're paying for, what percent gets validated versus doesn't?
It's an important thing for clients to know coming in. Not every item is going to res match. Sometimes it could mean the item is not good, but a lot of times it doesn't mean that. A lot of times it just means, the right images weren't out there. The characteristics were more difficult and it just didn't have the right things to lead to a res match. As far as the pricing goes, you brought that up. There is actually a big discount in price if we're not able to make a res match. So it's depending on the level of item. It can be anywhere from about 30 to 60% refunded back to the client. So they do get, some money back at least if we're not able to make a res match. Obviously, we're spending a very similar amount of time either way, but we don't want the clients to feel like they spent all this money and got nothing. So they're at least getting a good chunk of money back. Sometimes if an item's like a really high value, even if there's a lower chance of success, is going to be worth it for the client, because they can be risking, let's say it's $1,000 fee. If a res match is going to add $50,000 in value to that piece, you want to give it a shot and see what happens. But broadly speaking, probably a little bit over half of items that are submitted to us we're able to res match. And the other chunk, for one reason or another, a res match can't be made. So
that makes sense. So I send it in and you guys are doing your research. It would be my assumption that if it's modern, game worn from the last 10 to 15 years, higher percent chance of matching versus 15 plus, 20 plus. Good assumption?
It's a little bit more complicated than that. In general, there's going to be way more images from recent items. So in that regard, there's a higher chance of a res match. But with that said, pretty much across all major sports, these days,
being good.
well, there's a quantity issue. So these days, players will most of the time wear a jersey for like 1 or 2 games, or wear a pair of shoes maybe for 1 game. Yep. Whereas back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 20s, they wear like 2 jerseys all year. So there's going to be a lot fewer images from the 1920s, the 1950s, but they probably use the item for a lot longer period of time. Oh. So in that way, it kind of almost evens out. But yeah, I mean, in general, there's absolutely going to be way more images from more modern pieces. There are also a lot of times, especially if you're talking last 10 years or so, a lot more pieces are league authenticated, meaning that they already have, MLB authentication, I think is great, where they will put a sticker on it and say, hey, it was used on this date. But even then, it's great to submit it to resolution, because sometimes they'll only include the date that it was pulled from use, but we're able to photo match it to 6 or 7 other dates. Yeah. So again, it probably won't be the whole season. Occasionally a player will wear it for an extended period, but probably not the whole season. But we're oftentimes able to do a lot more beyond what the league authentication has.
Do I have to send anything to you?
Yeah, so we don't need physical items shipped for our process. And we discovered this early on. Back from the time we started, we've never required physical shipping of items. And that was another thing that really was able to make it easier for our clients. With past authentication, pre-2015, they always required shipping. And we kind of realized they were a little bit maybe behind the times. When you didn't have iPhone cameras in 2005, that didn't work. But now with everyone has this high def camera in their pocket, all we need are physical or specific photos of each item. So we need very specific angles, basically the front, the back, the manufacturer tags, to where we can see everything we need to see. But then it actually saves the client the unnecessary hassle of having to ship the physical item and all the liability that goes into that. And that's another great thing about the not having to ship, is it does make the turnaround time a little bit quicker. But yeah, the standard turnaround time is around a week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks. If there's a deadline of a week, 6 days, a lot of times with an expedited service, we can make that happen.
Tell me some stories. Like what's some of the coolest things you've res matched, and tell me something there in the audience that would be interesting or kind of cool with it.
On the non-sport side, we did a Amelia Earhart cap that she wore on. It was the first female transatlantic flight. So she went from across the Atlantic. Had never been done by a woman before, and we photo matched, we res matched the cap that she wore during that flight. And it was a big, the New York Times ran a big story on it, and it got a bunch of coverage because it was this cap that this guy had passed down. According to the legend, Amelia Earhart took off this cap and gave it to, I think it was a kid, right after the flight. And then it had been sitting in someone's attic for 75 years. And then they decided, hey, this might be worth some money. They sent it to us. We got it res matched. It ended up selling for, I think, close to $1 million. But on the non-sports side, that was a really cool one. So
that's amazing. I mean, piece of history right there.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was actually a photo, this kind of validation and service gives it that much more credibility in a collector's, mind and in someone buying it. Just because of reality of AI and all these other things of what's real, what's not. And when you have something physical that, has this sentimental and real value, these services, I feel like, become more and more valuable.
Well, and it tells a story. When you're able to make a res match to something, it can go from a bat that was used in 2010 or a jersey that was worn in 1985 to a jersey that was worn on July 12th, 1985, when this guy hit a home run or this guy hit the game-winning shot. And it really creates that much more of a story. You learn the story of the piece. It tells the story, and then, on the investment side, it adds a huge amount of value. We're oftentimes seeing pieces go for, 4 times what they sold for without a res match when we're able to make that res match. But the reason it adds so much value financially is because it does tell that story and makes the piece that much cooler.
And I mean, look, a safer, more secure hobby is a better hobby. And that's why I love what you guys are doing, John, at Resolution Photomatching, because, yes, it's a business and, it's about financial, like you said, being transparent there. But it doesn't mean that your business is also a service to the industry that, needs this kind of additional scrutiny and security and validation when you have more and more people and more money in it. So hats off to you guys for everything you're contributing to it. John, I really appreciate it. Let's drop the website, the social media, all the stuff where people can learn more about what you guys are up to and inquire about your services.
Absolutely. Yeah, our website is resolutionphotomatching.com. You can shoot us an email at info@resphotomatching.com. You'll find that on the contact page of the website. That's the best way to get an item going in the submission process. Shoot us an email. Tell us a little bit about the piece that you have or the collection of pieces that you have. And then our communications person, our director of ops, will reach back out to you, get the submission process going, and then we can hopefully make some discoveries for you.
Hey, it's a high value service. I'll say that. After hearing everything, this is, like a premium. I'm not speaking for your pricing, but just a premium service. Like this is, I don't know, the exact opposite of automation. It is, high touch, high premium service.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And it's funny, we've actually done a little bit of research and development into implementing, AI and things like that. And what we've found is, unfortunately, artificial recognition software can sometimes miss some stuff.
Yeah.
And as of now, we're still fully with the real human researchers, just to make sure nothing is ever missed in our process. So, it is definitely an intense process, but I appreciate you saying it's a premium.
It is. I hear it. Now that I understand it, I mean, I'll say that. We'll call it HTI. Human, something like human touch intelligence.
I'll take it.
Terms here. But John, really appreciate you coming on. Hope we do it regularly, and appreciate all you're doing for the hobby, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Ryan, and congrats on getting this show going. It sounds like it's about to hit the next level and really be launching here in a big way. So
we're excited and appreciate guys like you and companies like you that come on and validate, what we're doing. And hey, one big hobby family here, and appreciate you. And hey, guys, you know where to find us. Collectibles.show is where you'll find today's full video, highlight clips, links to Resolution Photomatching, all the stuff John mentioned. Go check out that subscription service if you're a regular hobbyist with game-worn, game-used, or if you just like all those concert-worn stuff. Whatever it is, they got you covered. Increase your value, increase your knowledge and trust and story And that's what this show is all about, bringing those stories to life in the hobby. We appreciate it, John, and we'll talk soon. Collectibles.show is where you'll find all of the channels and learn more about what we're doing. And ultimately, hey, we want to hear from you. You do case hits at collectibles.show. We want you to send in your favorite pulls of the week. And here's the difference. This isn't about just value. Hey, we want to see some $10,000 hits. Had a couple of those myself a few months back. But it's not just about the value, it's about what you're collecting. What means something to you? Share a story, share a video of you holding up the card that you hit last week that was your favorite player and you nailed it. So case hits at collectibles.show. Send in those videos. I want to know the stories. We're going to bring them to life here on the show. We're going to do a segment each week once we get rolling and get some videos in where we share that on the show with us. We want to feature you on Collectibles Show.
Thanks for tuning in to the show. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform, and don't miss the full video version on YouTube. You can find us at www.collectibles.show or follow Ryan on Instagram at Ryan Alford. Now get out there and collect yours.